The night I finished the novel, I went to bed and closed my eyes, and I was transported into the city with uncertain walls. Murakami's stories are like wine. They intoxicate you. The more they age, the better they get. Murakami is now 76 years old. The novel we are talking about is The City and Its Uncertain Walls. It's the latest novel of Murakami. Murakami never writes an afterword for his books, but for this one, it was a necessity. In the afterword he writes, the core of this novel lies in a short novella he had written in 1980. He felt it was a bit raw, but contained something vital for him. He made multiple attempts to finish this. Hard-boiled Wonderland and The End of the World was a result of these attempts. But that satisfaction of completion kept eluding him. For 40 years since he had published the first version, he had gone from being 31 to 71. What I feel is perhaps all of his novels carried this essence of his incomplete story that he is finally able to finish in the city with uncertain walls. This book speaks of a fated love, just like 1Q84, and is divided into 3 parts. It talks about how lovers build entire worlds together in their conversations. The sudden disappearance of his lover prompts the narrator to begin dwelling in that imaginary city that they had built in their conversations. As they had once decided, the narrator walks into the town library and finds her once again. She's much older than she was when he had last seen her. The narrator meets her every day, works with her at the library, walks her back home along beautiful, beautiful sceneries. The lines between reality and imagination begin to blur. But the strange thing is that in this timeless city, people have no memories, and she's just like a shadow of her past self. This creates a unique setting for Murakami to explore the deepest longings of a heart play out in front of the narrator's eyes. This part of the book explores the limits of how long one can dwell to fulfill their unfulfilled desires through dreams. The second part of the book begins when the narrator is no longer able to take it. He snaps out of the city into real life. The mechanics of this snapping in and out of the city, the visuals, the seasons, the workings of the city, and the consistency of the entire system are as magically real as Murakami gets. Back into reality, the narrator realizes how decades have passed living a life mechanically, and that nothing in this life interests him anymore. It was during the pandemic that Murakami finally decided that it was time to finish it. The narrator looks for something in this reality to hold on to. He moves to a mountain town with a library deep inside the Japanese winters, and then begins pure mastery. The second part of the book is a long journey, quintessential of Murakami, documenting the repetitions, days in and out, gradually building up a rhythm that carries the story forward to its next phase. By the end of this second part of the book, Murakami is now ready to give a closure to the story he had set out to tell many, many years ago. The master finally gets to paint his strokes that he had been longing to paint for over 40 years to write the ending of this book. The chapters of this third part of the book contain some of the most beautiful visuals that I have ever imagined. I've taken care that I'm not giving out any spoilers or details that would reduce the effect of this book in any way, but I just had to express myself out here. about how I felt after reading this book, because this book has a personal connection with me. I myself have been making a book since the last 10 years, figuring out my own processes. This book that took Murakami so long to finish is like a guiding path for me. However, I did not initially want to read this book. I did not want to get influenced. In fact, I hadn't even known about this book till January this year, 2025. A decade ago, when I had begun writing my book, I hadn't read any Murakami. I had freshly read some Camus and Confessions by Tolstoy and a few other things. But as I gradually explored Murakami among other writers, I realized that the elements in the worlds we created were eerily similar, and for that matter, were also similar to those of the Argentine Spanish writer Borges. So I had decided to not read this book till I had finished mine. I didn't want to get influenced. Strange things do happen. And suddenly I found this book in a second-hand book market in Delhi. Many coincidences had come together for this event to happen, and I knew that this book carried some message for me. And by the end of it, I got my message. Murakami is now 76 years old, and through this book, which took him 40 years to finish, he is passing on the baton to somebody young, prolific, who he believes can carry on the work. There is a maturity about the writing style in this book. The chapters are crisp. Those descriptions of hypersexual imagery have been avoided by Murakami in this book, and it's made to perfectly suit the kind of reading that I like to do. And mind you, this book contains some of the most beautiful atmospheric descriptions of winters, the snow. And at this point in the video, it's perhaps time to quote Murakami from 1Q84. Those who cannot understand without explanation cannot understand with explanation. Murakami designs the incompleteness of his stories in such a way that they haunt you. Now, I am on my way to finish my book. I'm coming.